What about the Western Derby last night? It was on?
It was on. It was the most heated Western Derby I've seen for a little while, Marty. There was plenty of heat in the kitchen, and credit to West Coast. Their first half was excellent last night. Their pressure on the ball carrier, they moved the ball really quickly. If you're a West Coast fan, if they can play that quality of football that they played in the first half for a good portion of the next season or two, they might not be as far back as what some people think. But I guess the key will just be maintaining that ferocity and that energy that they brought to the table last night. And it was good for Fremantle. If you want to go into a finals campaign, that's the sort of pressure you need to soak up. And they did, to their credit, and they found a way to get away from West Coast late in that game. But I think both teams would have had reason to walk away from that game with a bit of excitement out of last night.
I like the way Fremantle are playing. They absorbed a lot of pressure. It's easy to get ambushed in those sort of situations, and they were able to steady the ship and then run away and win by 35 points. I like the way they play their footy at the moment, Fremantle. They don't win it one way. They can win it in about 2 or 3 different ways. So they've got the Bombers next week at the MCG. You can tick that one. Then they've got the Geelong Cats at Optus. I'll tick that one. Giants away at NG. That'll be a toughie. Finish it up with Port at home. Good way to finish the season. So that's a good draw, I think, for Fremantle, who just need to keep winning, of course.
Absolutely.
Like everyone else.
Yeah, spot on. And with Brisbane taking out the Q Clash there overnight, they now have put themselves up there into a good spot. Carlton, on the flip side, dropping that game, have left themselves a little bit vulnerable off that loss earlier on in the weekend. And your boys, Marty. And terrible. A big game last night. That was really...
It's the afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, yesterday. Just disappointing. Really disappointing to not get the job done against St Kilda. A side they would on what they've done so far this season, they really would have fancied themselves going into that clash.
It's always a tough game. They were able to beat St Kilda earlier on in the year, but we struggle against them. I think Ross has got the wood over Scott in the commentary box. And they were just too good. But they continue to wet the bed, Essendon. And unfortunately, until they can sort that out, they'll fall out of the 8 and give all their supporters another poor year. It's very disappointing.
The edge has been shaved down.
The edge is right off, let me tell you. But as you said, Carlton are wobbly there in 4th. Geelong got it back on track. Porter finishing with a bit of gusto. GWS Giants, important win against Melbourne. Just outside of the 8, can Western Bulldogs get in today with a win over Sydney? And can Hawthorn get in there today with a win over Adelaide? We'll wait and see. Plenty happening in NRL. James Sully Sullivan joins us. Very good morning, Sal.
Hello, Marty. Hello, Shorty, listeners. What a great round of footy. What a great round.
Before we go on to that, Sal, I'm trying to work out who are the hottest tipsters on our radio station. Is it you, Shane, Train and Shorty? I think that's the 3.
Not a bad treble, though, is it? We're not a bad bunch of blokes, just quietly.
Make a pretty decent night down at the local, I would have thought, Sol.
The 3 larrikins who love a bunt.
Wow. No, your form on Drive on Friday night again was outstanding, so well done also on Thursday. You're nailing them at the moment. So let's go back. Let's have a look at it and start at the end, if you like. What a game it was. The Roosters and Seagulls last night. 34-30 end result for the Roosters.
Oh, what an absolute beauty. And obviously, it was all set up by the half-time, like the Roosters in the first half. 28-12 they led, and I thought they'll kick on with it in the second half, but they did not see the Steeden in the second half. I reckon and this is what I think Trent Robinson, I'm interested to listen to what he says this morning, well, after the game. I haven't had a chance to listen to it as yet, but, mate, their defence, the Roosters' defence, because it turned around, the Seagulls ended up with 59% of the footy. And you know my thoughts on that, boys. When you've got that much footy, you've got to be able to win games of footy. But, mate, they got an opportunity. They scored 1 try in the second half, the Roosters, and they went down, and it was just Michael Jennings on the back of it. It was just bang. They just went downfield. I thought, oh, my God, Dom Young started it, came across. And then on the back of then, what we saw then, 3 tries in the second half from the Seagulls, but a couple of late ones. I don't think they're ever in danger of getting rissoled at the end of the game, the Roosters. But, geez, the defence, that's what was the most important thing. They took a leap out of the storm, I think, the week before. So, yeah, that's a big win for the Roosters and really hurts the the Sea Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. Sees the Roosters in third spot there on the table. Continue on their good form. Another game there overnight. The Cowboys taking on the Sharks. Cowboys proving too good. 30-22. There was a bit of action late in the piece. We saw Kyle Felt have a real day out, landing a 3-pack there on this occasion for the Cowboys, and 30-22 win for them at home was a nice result.
Oh, absolutely, and it's something they haven't done at home consistently, and that's a big win. Last week was a big win against the Bulldogs, and I think I said to everyone during the week, I really likened that game last week with the Bulldogs. It was a semi-final, and last night, very similar for the Sharks. The Sharks' record against the Cowboys, boys, was outstanding running into this game, and especially up there in Townsville. So, yeah, all of a sudden, 2 wins in a row for the Cowboys, and they're making that march. I'm as Marty knows, and you probably know yourself, Dave, I was quite keen on the Cowboys making a push for that top 4. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen high-quality games up there at Townsville, and that's a big, big win. And as you said, Kyle Felt, he's a town favourite, he is. He's the king.
Indeed.
JT used to be. I think Kyle Felt is now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sees the Cowboys now into 6th position. The Sharks find themselves in 4th spot. So 2 sides that are certainly well in contention for the finals. Back to the Bulldogs taking the Broncos. This was on in the background while Marty and I were on air yesterday, Sully. And must be said, it was a really disappointing effort from the Broncos. Well, on the flip side, the Doggies, they really did pour it on in this particular contest, 41-16. They got over the line for fun in this game, 7 individual tries throughout the course of the match, and the Broncos had no answers.
It's amazing. What's the saying, boys? Who let the dogs out? Because it's 16-10 at half-time. You know, on the back, Stagg scores that brilliant try, like individual try, right on the break. And I just thought to myself, here they come. Here they come. Here come the Broncos. Remembering, the Bulldogs know Stephen Crichton. You know, their best player, their captain. He's not there. Well, they let him out all right. My God, on the back kick out, Connor Tracy grabbed 3. He's been outstanding, the off-season buy. And this side, you know, there's Bulldogs. People can say what they like. And I tell you what, I think we're a little bit blind. As I said, that game up there at Townsville last week was high quality. They've had 2 in a row in Queensland, and they'll come away. And the Broncos at home, boys, 0-5. The last 5 games at Suncorp, 0-5. And what we're seeing now, we're starting to see that Parramatta-itis, aren't we? Make the grand final, miss out in the 8. I don't think they can make the 8 now, Marty.
No, they're in trouble, aren't they? You have a look at it. They've played the 19 games. They've only got 20 points. Dolphins in 8th have played 17 games with 24, so it's going to be... they can't make it from it. They're just not playing well enough and don't deserve to be in there, so...
No, it's a good point you make, and they've got the Titans, Cowboys, Eels, Dolphins, a Storm last round. They're gone.
Talk about the Storm. How good were they Friday night? They just were too good for Parramatta in Parramatta.
Yeah, but that's a big win. You know, Craig Bellamy was big in the week before, you know, leading into it, saying, you know, when we haven't been good here. But I tell you what, there's nothing better. And you're talking about the AFL there before. Isn't it good when you see teams look like they're having fun? They were having fun on Friday night. Pappenhausen's smiling because the lunatic's back. How good is it to see that lunatic back on the footy field? Cameron Munster. I love watching him play footy. He had a smile on his face. They're good to watch, the Melbourne Storm, bottom line.
They are. Well, they're in a pretty nice spot too. 15 wins from their 18 games. They're 6 points clear. This is a beautiful spot to be in on any sporting table at this time of the year, Sol, because what it does give them the opportunity to do is just have their players absolutely cherry ripe for finals. They don't have to tamper around with too much. But if they've got 1 or 2 aging players on the roster that maybe could do with a rest or you know, a little bit of a break in the build-up to finals to have them absolutely spot on, they can now have it exactly as they would like it, and there's no pressure on them to have to win every game from here on in. They're in a beautiful spot.
Yeah, it's good for you, mate, Dave. And I think the big thing, as Marty knows, it's around this time now that Craig Bellamy puts the miles into the legs. They won't touch they won't see much of the footy in the next couple of weeks of training because it's very well known that Bellamy really, really works up to the workload and then tapers them off, just rolling into the finals. And, as you say, you got boys who aren't, 80%. Just have another week. That's when I knew Munster was right to go. So, that's a good lead up into the finals for them.
And the first of the games was the Warriors 28, Western Tigers 16.
Geez, I tell you, it took them a while to get rid of them, didn't they?
Yeah.
Tigers were brave. I watched that game. I thought West Tigers could jag this, but it's just that little bit of immaturity. They got a few young boys who make mistakes, but 60% of that game, that they looked very, very good, and they did have a fair bit of footy as well. In the second half, the Warriors, they got away with one, but they won't play finals.
No. All right, so let's get into the Sunday action. See if we can't maintain this absolutely white-hot form that you're in for the punters today. It gets underway. The first of the three-pack is at midday WA time. St George Illawarra $3.95. The Panthers $1.25. Line betting. Money strong here for the Panthers to cover the minus 11.5. That's into $1.84. St George with a head start out to $1.96. And total points, the over's been backed here into $1.84. That's over 47.5.
Yeah, they met in round 13. That was at Penrith, and the Dragons got over the top. I know that was minus the Origin Stars, but they come back into the side today. Mate, down at Wollongong, Dragons have been good this year. They're 3 from 3, and Flanagan's given them that little bit of steel so far. So I don't think they'll blow them away. It's a bit like the Panthers just this season haven't really blown sides off the park. I'm going to go the Panthers, but, I'm pretty keen on the 1-12, to be totally honest. But I'm expecting the Panthers to win the game. But as I said, it won't be easy because, incredibly, the Penrith Panthers have not won in Wollongong since 2014. And you might say, how many games they've played there? They've played 22 games there in their history. So it's not as if they haven't been down there. So, a long, long time. Can they break the drought?
Oh, let's hope so for getting involved there, punters. It's a decade between wins at the venue, but so happy to take the 1-12 there for the Panthers. The middle game, the Dolphins $1.50, Gold Coast $2.60, line betting at 5.5, and again, support for the Dolphins.
Yeah, there will be support for the Dolphins, but the one thing they've got to do, they've got to fix up this. The last 6 games, 26, 28, 30, 26, 28, 28. That's how many points have been scored against them. I know they're getting away with wins, but they've got to really improve that defensive capabilities, boys. There'll be points scored here. It'll be a points fest. They'll throw it around. They'll have a bit of fun. I think the over's 52.5, I think. So, I think there'll be plenty of that. Digby's mate will love that. So I'm going to go the Dolphins in a high scorer. I tell you what, haven't they got a quick turnaround, lads?
Yes.
They'll be straight on the plane, I would have thought.
Yep.
Straight over to Perth. So, quick turnaround. I'll go the Dolphins out at Suncorp.
All right, and the final game, Canberra, $1.62, Rabbits $2.30, line betting 3.5, game total 50.5.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was a bit surprised. I like the Rabbitohs here. And there's one thing, the reason being, this Raiders side, they don't win. When they win, they don't win by many. 1, 2, 4, 1 and 2. So no wonder Ricky Stewart looks like he's getting older. And Jack's back. Jack Whiten's back, boys. I like that. I'm going to go to the Rabbitohs. 6:15 kickoff here. Won't that be nice and cold? Oh, please.
Certainly will be. Now, how do we get a quid out of all of this? That's the important thing.
Well, I linked the 3 up. It's not bad head-to-head. $4.31. Panthers, Dolphins, Rabbitohs. Score a try any time. We're going to stick to the 2. Herbie Farnworth from the Dolphins. Beep, beep. I love Herbie. Into Jack Whiten. I'm mentioning the boys back. So Farnworth in the Whiten, $7.50.
Yep.
And here's a little play. Let's go. Can't believe last week the draw got us, Marty. I'm going to go the Panthers 1-12.
Yep.
The total points over in the second game at 52.5. The Rabbitohs 1-12 will get $23.08.
Wow, you've given us some value to go on with this morning. That is beautiful work. So we love that.
Got to have value. Pace for the flight over on Tuesday.
All right, we're looking forward to a big week of your company over here in the West with the Roosters
Beautiful.
And the Dolphins tee off next Friday night. It should be a beauty. Thanks for coming on the program this morning.
Stay safe. Night, boys.
On your salt.
He's already here. Do you reckon he's keen about coming across?
Oh, I tell you what, mate, if you get the opportunity to catch up with him while he's over here, he's great company. He's one of the fine gentlemen. He does a great job promoting the sport that he loves in a rugby league, but he's also one of the world's best gentlemen. He's just such a humble and lovely man. He's great company. He's got an opinion on most things. He follows all of the sport. Just a ripper fella. Loves a punt. Loves a quiet drink. He's a beauty.
What about yesterday, the Bletchley Stakes? Let's have a listen to the replay, then we catch up with Jack Turnbull.
There's about a neck between them. Simeon's under a bit more pressure. A length and a half to Marble 9 as Shin opens the shackles on the favourite. He stays down near the fence, but he's shot clear. Recommendation. He's over 2 lengths in front of Marble 9. Mrs. Chrissy running on. Recommendations wandering all over the place. Then Simeon. Recommendation still in front. They're not going to get to him. He's going to go the Monash and the Bletchley back to back at the 70. He's 2 lengths in front of Marble 9 and Simeon. And down to the line. Recommendation 2 lengths to Simeon, Marble 9 third. Mrs. Chrissy Machinist.
Yeah, good win in the Group 3 yesterday at Caulfield. Jack Turnbull represents Kira Murray. Joins us on the aftermath. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning. How are you?
Going beautifully. Thank you, Jack. Great to have your company. Congratulations. Recommendation. It was very well fancied going into the Bletchley at Group 3 level there yesterday. Still got to get the job done, though, and to the credit of the horse and Blake Shin, that was feet on the dashboard stuff.
Yeah, it was a really nice performance. I mean, it was hard to emulate another first-up performance like he did, winning by 7, but to win by 2 lengths with the track the way it was, when you could argue he's better or he prefers being on top of the ground, it was a really good effort.
Okay, how'd the horse pull up this morning, and what's the future look like for him?
He's pulled up well. He'll probably go over a couple of days at Fulman Park, just alternate grass paddock and water walker. And not completely sure. He obviously loves a bend. He's going well at Caulfield, so whether or not he goes to a race like a Regal Roller or we give him a breather and tackle something like a Bobby Lewis, not quite sure. He's very good at 1,000 and 1,100 and 1,200. Sort of, he obviously still wins, but Blake's comments yesterday felt like he's just not as solid through the line at that sort of pressure. So we'll just see how he is. We've got good options in front of us, and once Kieran gets back to Australia, we can sort them out.
Is he a push-button horse to maintain, or do you got to look after him a bit?
No, to his credit, he's lovely. He's a very lazy horse. Only does what he has to do in his training, and he literally went evens on the Tuesday on his own, just sort of flopped around, and you put a set of blinkers on him race day and he's a different animal. So he's quite straightforward. He's a pleasure to have around, and he's in really good form.
Yeah, it's the nice horses to have when they can do it on race day like that, but also be a pleasure around the stable, so you'd like to almost clone it. Piastri was a nice winner on the same day as well at Caulfield there yesterday over the 1,200 metres. Mickey D, nice ride, but this was a pretty solid lineup and a nice win from Piastri.
It was, yeah, on the minimum 54, and he's come from a 58 first up. He ran a placing last start in town, and he's gone better again. So raced a little bit fresh and pulled himself to where he was in the run, but clearly he had plenty to offer, and whether it was that lane or just how he was travelling in that ground, he was far too superior. So set him up for us to pick our way through. I don't think we will set any lofty goals for him. We'll just go through the handicap system as such and try to get as much prize money as possible.
Had a winner up in Sydney as well at Randwick High to Buy. Be good to get a win with this horse, formerly with Waterhouse and Bott.
Yeah, it's been a little while between drinks, so Dynamic and Adam Watt have had a fantastic run this week. I think that was their third city winner, and it's a good effort. It albeit looked beaten down the straight, and it rallied and picked up. So it set the stable up for a really good day for Kira Racing. We had 2 in New South Wales and 2 in Victoria, so it was a nice way to round off the Metropolitan season.
Indeed, yeah, and Space Age was your other winner there yesterday at Randwick. It was a really nice effort, was there to be rolled. Zach Waddick, though, rode it out really well, the 3 kilo claimer, and the horse found plenty over the concluding stage. It was a really nice performance.
Certainly did. International that we had in Victoria for a while. Took a little bit to get there, a little bit longer than we expected. Promised a little at home, and we were always adamant he had ability. But, we flicked him up to New South Wales to tackle softer tracks. Mm-hmm. And 3 starts ago, we went forward on him rather than just riding him for a bit of a sit, and his form's completely turned around. So great to see him do it for both the horse and the clients involved, and he's still got upside.
Jack, the weather's really set in over there in Victoria. How hard is it, not just to place them, but to train them? It must be difficult.
Yeah, it's pretty niggly. Down at Cranbourne, you sort of alternate poly track and grass jump outs, and you have to sort of pick your battles with when the grass gallops are open. But we're heavy tread trainers, and we've got Fingal, which is half an hour away, and Cranbourne as a training complex has the Sandhills as well. So we can alternate our training. Everyone's in the same position, so it's not like we're on our own, but it's a frustrating period. It is winter. It is what it is, and I'm sure in the next month it'll turn around, and we can keep going.
Jack, I've heard a couple of interviews with yourself and also Kieran, and you're in a great position, obviously, to work for an organisation that have just been phenomenal in recent years, have really become the benchmark within the sport. But the opportunity to work with such different facilities for your horses, I think that's one thing. The more I hear interviews and the options that you have with your horses, depending on what part of the preparation they're in, depending on what sort of individuals that they are, just the different various places that you've got and different facilities to actually suit the horses that you have in your care must be a real luxury, and something that as a trainer and you must really look at and think, how am I going to get the best out of this horse and what's going to suit them best?
It certainly is a luxury. Kieran's pioneered that through Fingal, through Bong Bong. We now have Bob's Beach, which is up in New South Wales with James Hardie, and obviously Ballarat, Cranbourne and Fingal. So, I always say if we can't get a horse going, probably can't get it going at all. We're pioneering treadmill training, and he's always been a big advocate for that. But with Katrina Anderson and Josh, we're constantly evolving. We're experimenting as such, within reason, just knowing what we know, and we're continually evolving as a stable. So it's very exciting. We get very good bloodstock firsthand with the internationals and the yearlings that we buy locally. And we've had a really good season, so hopefully we can build off that into the next.
And where's the great man been, Kieran?
He just landed in the UK. We had a horse run there overnight in King George called Middle Earth under Qatar Racing's colours, which will be coming to us. So he's doing a bit of a weekend trip. Hopefully the jet lag doesn't slow him up, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah,
a bit of an upset in the King George last night as well. The French Raider wins at 30-1 or whatever. And you've just released another potential Melbourne Cup horse for syndication, I see in your emails.
We have, Will Bourne's been very busy. He's picked up 4, I think, at this point in time. So they'll all head to either David Simcox or Harry Eustace's yard over in Newmarket, and they'll filter through quarantine and then come back through to either Warwick Farm or Melbourne, pending their plans or their immediate plans. So, again, the cycle goes on, and our clients have been very supportive. Most horses have been filled out, and hopefully they're the next gold trip.
But anyone listening,
next season,
anyone listening who wants a percentage in a horse who's a potential Melbourne Cup winner, just hop on Kieran Maher Racing, find them on the internet, and you could be a winner in November. Who knows? Jack, thanks for coming on the program this morning. Always good to catch up.
No problem.
Thanks, Jack.
Jack Turnbull there.
Wow.
Going places.
You can understand. I mean, people say, the size of the operation, sure they're going to have winners. But when you listen to the facilities and how they go about it, they're cutting edge. They are looking in spaces that other trainers have never looked before. They've got the perfect facilities to suit all sorts of different horses. As he said, if they can't get a horse going, what chance is your stock standard bloke that's got one style and one paddock, and that's how I'm going to operate? These guys have got dozens of different options, and every horse is different, mate. Like humans, we're all different. Yep. Different things get us all going and performing to our peak, and they more often than not, they find the way.
They're pretty good. We'll take a break and come back with Chris Nelson.
Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Yes, and a very good morning to Chris Nelson.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty.
Good morning, Chris O. Lovely to have your company on this Sunday morning, and plenty going on there yesterday. Let's start at Randwick, though, where we had a very interesting 10-race program. We'll start it off in race number 1. The very popular Tarpaulin saluted for the punters. This was very comfortable viewing for the punters that sold in at the odds-on quote. J-Mac punched it up in the home straight, and Tarpaulin ran away with the cash.
Yeah, he certainly did, and I think all concerned with that horse would have been pretty happy when the rain fell on Saturday morning or yesterday morning, because his previous win had been on wet ground, and there he was on a heavy 8 track there, just revelling in the conditions, and he won well. Now, he'll go on. James Cummings got a pretty big opinion of him. He'll go on to the Rosebud on August the 17th. That'll be his next start. Just a couple of the others. Sakima was tailed off early, did a good job to run second. And Barbie's sister, well, probably given no hope, I suppose, with being caught wide early on. Didn't handle the conditions. Back to Brisbane, I would say, for Barbie's sister. She was absolutely thrashed in that race. And one other. Now, this horse, Qatar's Choice, didn't even run in the race, guys, but it was scratched Saturday morning, was 15s into $4.80 on debut. So it's one to put in your black book for when it turns up, because the hand has well and truly been shown there.
Race number 6, and we just spoke to Jack Turnbull about the win of Space Age.
Yeah, he's going well, this horse. He was able to turn the tables on Ha Ha Ha, who beat him last time out, came steaming down the outside. Well, this time around, Ha 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 was back in the field, and Space Age took over on the home turn, took care of Roma Avenue, who got out with a pretty decent lead. And then the Travel Well, as I said, another winner for Zach Waddick, who took the 3 off. Carried 52 kilos after the claim. The second horse ran on quite well. Galeron from the Nisham stable had 61 kilos, so a massive weight differential there. But you look at Galeron's form, it's very mixed. He mixes his form severely, so you don't know whether you could trust him going forward. I don't think I could have him in that 2-follow file, but he might be worth throwing into exotics next time around. But all honours there with Space Age, who won well. As I said, turned the tables on Ha Ha Ha. He probably needs a drier track, and I think wants further as well.
On to race number 7 on the card. This was a win for Fleetwood, defeating Sneaky Page and Bubba's Bay. Fleetwood went round a pretty trim favourite in this particular affair.
Yeah, looked his race, Shorty. I mean, he'd been going around in a couple of stronger races in Melbourne. We all know what happened to him 3 back now when he had that trouble at the start. He placed in both of those, and back to Benchmark Company yesterday was perfect for him. He fought hard. He gave plenty in the straight for James Cummings in what was a tight finish. I mean, they were all on the outside fence yesterday, so hard to get a handle on any form going forward. But he won well, and he will now have a spell, and he'll head off to the Magic Millions Carnival in January. So looking forward to seeing him there. Bubba's Bay was good first up. He generally takes a run, Bubba's Bay, so that points is a good pointer to him going forward. He may turn up here in Brisbane. He does a lot of racing up here. And She's an A-lister was beaten, 2.7, but stuck to the inside. Was one of the only horses during the day that stuck to the inside fence, so that run was okay as well.
Had to be the omen tip of the day, didn't it? Fleetwood Mac. Get it? Okay.
Marty. Hey, see what he's doing. It's early too. Early on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, the coffee's kicked in.
Oh, there's caffeine at its best.
Now, Chris Waller, he looked resplendent in that jacket yesterday. I would like to know what that would have cost, but I guess he can afford it. Invader Zim wins, and it just beat the James Cumming, the very impressive Kerr Gwylan. He wouldn't lose any fans off that defeat. Invader Zim beats it.
No, and Invader Zim was second up, narrowly beaten first up. Probably had more improvement to come. Kagwalan's had, I think, 4 starts now. I think we'll be looking for the paddock. But still put up a good performance. J-Mac was the one that was furthest away from the outside fence on that one. Invader Zim was on the outside fence, and Yorkshire was between them. I think both are worth following going forward. Invader Jim has got a lot of improvement still to come, I'd say, being only lightly raced than the other. The other one hasn't seen a dry track yet. All starts have been on heavy. Yesterday was going to be the test before that rain came, which was unexpected. So both of them, as I said, worth following going forward.
Absolutely. That was all the action there at Randwick yesterday. Let's have a look in your backyard. The meeting there at Doomben. It was a very good program as well. We'll kick things off there in race number 1. Bella Khadija, a nice winner over Savour the Dream and Data Scramble. This is one that was in the marketplace there yesterday, Chris, but I'm pretty sure you were quite keen on the prospects of Bella Khadija to kick off the day.
Yeah, I thought he was the best run in the race a couple of weeks ago. He ran third to Enterprise Defence and Savour the Dream, but he was the one that made ground in what was basically a 6 sprint. So if he could take advantage of that gate yesterday, he certainly was going to be in the finish. He didn't really. He was back in the field. She was back in the field, should I say. Apologies. Back in the field, but the pace was there to help. So the tempo suited her a lot more this time around. She turned the tables on the others. I thought she showed a good dash about 200-metre mark. She let down with a good sprint, and I think she'll get out over further than 13.50. Don't forget, she did run a placing behind Switzerland early on. So she had the right form there, Bella Khadija. So stick with her.
Race number 3, it was the Inflictor getting the money.
Yeah, this was a good win. Nathan and I discussed the Inflictor. We're both of the same opinion yesterday morning that form was really good, but the problem was he was going 1,000 to 13.50, which was the concern. Well, he just held on, and he held out Ready As Ever, who flew home late. Was very well back second up. I'd say follow Ready As Ever going forward. The market, or the SP profile there is strong for that one. Set to Shine. Didn't quite get there. Was beaten, less than half a length, but I thought that she'd be closer in the run, so she just had a bit too much ground to make up. And this race was on its head, basically. Stupid Duck led. He's a horse that had been running on strongly from the back of the field of late, so we didn't think there'd be as much speed on, but when he went forward and put it on, that basically changed the whole tempo of the race and the map of the race. So all credit to the Inflictor.
Indeed. On to race number 5. This was an open handicap over the 1,350 metres. A strong push from your good self for Flying Trapeze there yesterday. It was popular. Ended up starting around that $2.60 range on the fixed odds. It was there to be beaten, Flying Trapeze, but to the credit of this horse, it really did dig in late when challenged. Deepore and Devastate were there, but Flying Trapeze, I think class came to the fore over the last furlong.
Yeah, I think weight too, Shorty, late over particularly Deepore, carried 58 and Flying Trapeze down on the 52. That was his open company debut. He'd been very competitive in 3-year-old type races, certainly some listed races and some group races, Hobart Bills, etc. He ran third in a Magic Millions Guineas earlier this year behind a Bounding. So he had a bit on these, and on the limit weight, he was always the horse to beat, but tell you what, it was a bit of a struggle. There was no picnic for him. Devastate, very, very well backed for Tony Gollan, ran third. Only had 2 starts for the stable. First up at Rocky in the Newmarket, and then yesterday needs a wet track. All its form is on wet ground. So wait for a rainy day. I'm sure it won't be far away. And make sure Devastate goes in your bets. So it's the one to follow out of that race on a wet track.
Okay, just before we look at race number 8, we've got a text here off the text line for Retrovision, 0427 789 571. Rachel, and she wants to know Chris's opinion of Angela Jones, who's riding a lot of winners up in Brisbane at the moment.
Angela Jones is an absolute star. She's setting the world on fire at the moment. You could tell a couple of years ago she was going to be good, and she's riding so well at the moment. She rode another double yesterday. I think she's ridden about 12 or 13 winners in the last 10 days or so. She's absolutely flying. She gets on the good horses, but she also gets them home. So for Rachel, she's a ripper, and so is Emily Lang, who will be the next Angela Jones.
Well, she rode the winner of race number 8, Real Rush, for Stephen O'Day and Matthew Hoysted. Tell us about this win.
Yeah, a lightly raced filly. This was only her 3rd start. Now, we did discuss this again yesterday, Nathan and myself. She'd had 2 trials leading in. The first one at Doomben was just dominant. You'd say, well, wherever this filly starts, I need to be on her. But then she went to the Gold Coast on the grass, the B grass, and she chased all the way behind Find Your Own, and she looked to be under pressure. Find Your Own came out and won at Ipswich on Wednesday. So the form was okay out of those trials, but she just went straight to the front. Look, she didn't dawdle. She ran 21.60 between the 1,000 and the 600 metre mark, and she kicked clear in the straight. It was a very good win, so I think you can stick with her. Avono was there to win, but I think the 59 kilos worked against, considering the winner had 51. So wouldn't sack Avono, but Real Rush definitely worth following.
Indeed, I know you were very keen. Invincible Shield, it duly saluted in race number 7. And then the last, you left us with I See You Coming, which was a good winner again, that lady in the saddle, Angela Jones. So a good day all in all. You saw them quite well, Chris. If you were to pick one of those horses out of all the racing there yesterday to pop into the black book, who would be the one?
Well, I had 5 written down, Shorty, so you got me under a lot of pressure.
Oh, you can give us go through them all.
Belakadija over further, Devastate on a wet track, Real Rush definitely, plenty of improvement. Takima out of that first at Randwick, and Bubba's Bay, particularly if he heads north.
Any winners today?
Well, we're at Townsville today for the Guineas. I'm not all over the Townsville form, but I can tell you that race 7, number 14 in the Guineas, Reliable Witness, has been running on very, very well of late. He'll lap up the 1,600 metres, and he's well into double-figure odds, guys, so maybe a couple of dollars each way.
Well, he's in the $6 now. That is Reliable Witness. Nathan Tom. No, that's on Tab Touch. You bet.
Oh.
What's he been? He's been $17 into 6.
Oh.
I hope you got the 17s.
I missed a boat there, mate.
No, Chris.
Okay. I'll tell you something though. I don't say no to $6 winners regardless. So that's okay. 6 is okay with me, Chris. No problem at all. Lovely catching up with you this morning, Chris Nelson. How have you settled back in after the Bali life? Are you back into the swing of things again?
I will say, Shorty, yes, I am, but part of me would love to be back there having a lunch with yourself, that's for sure. Yeah,
it was pretty nice, wasn't it? It's a beautiful part of the world. And the young fella's going well up there still?
Yeah, he's got a couple of months to go, then he'll be coming home. I think it'll be a bit of a culture shock when he gets home back to the Sunshine Coast. As you know, it'll be a hell of a lot quieter than life in Bali, so he'll have to keep himself busy, that's for sure.
I'm sure he will be. Good on you, Chris. Great catching up there this morning. Enjoy your Sunday afternoon.
You too, guys. All the best. Have a great day.
You're listening to the Sunday Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Yes, and joining us is Racetrack Ralphy. Good morning.
Morning, boys. Nearly got hit by a penguin last night on the way to the footy. It's a tad cold over here.
Sorry, mate.
Absolutely, Ralphie, and I'm surprised that you made it to the ground. I thought I might have been with some of the other Melbourne fans that are very busy there on the snowfields at the moment.
Oh, Shorty.
I'll tell you what, the snowfields would have been warmer last night.
The racing yesterday at Caulfield, generally a place you find plenty. Let's go through the card. In the first, it was I Am Velvet, a horse that's still learning how to race, but there's a motor there.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it, Shorty? Because it did similar at the Pakenham Synthetic, which is such a hard circuit to trust, but ran good time on the day. So you thought, I wonder what its upside is, and you'll get burnt trusting Pakenham Synthetic form as a rule. But if you did yesterday, you were rewarded, and it's still got a lot to learn and a lot of upside. So I think it's a horse we're going to follow with a bit of confidence now, and the fact that the money was so significant for Dom, the runner-up, is a good sign too.
What about Public Attention's win in the second?
Yeah, well, again, you have to sort of think that there's a bit of upside here because all the well-backed horses ran well, and for it to do that on debut, and its trials were fine, but at $16 from a good stable like this, they obviously said there was a lot of improvement to come. So if you could do that on debut, that's a really good sign. By now, the big flashing light is, of course, the fence started giving off. I'm getting sick of talking to you boys on a Sunday after Caulfield just falls apart, and that's exactly what it did with the rain. But that was a good win. I reckon Berezka's just crying out for 1,400. Still no money for it yet, as far as on the punt on the day. So that's a good sign that I think this is a bit of a stayer that they're just putting together, the Mar team, and I think that's got some upside, Berezka.
I did hear an interview yesterday with Michael Kent Jr. On RSN in regards to this Grey Galloper Public Attention, and he said, my gut feel is that this is going to be a pretty nice horse. So his gut feel proved to be correct. And it did have to do its share of work, Ralphie, off the track there. And I thought the win was nice. So it could be one to keep an eye on heading forward. On to race number 3 on the program for the 3-year-olds. It was Captain Electric with Damien Lane aboard, proving too good for Romans, Luck and Fats.
Yeah, we might bracket these two, the two 2,400 races. They were running contrasting styles. This was a very soft tempo here, hence Blake going to the front on Fats, who's a bit of a one-pacer. Captain Electric on the home turn. Tell you what, when Damien Lane's swinging off one on the turn, what's his strike rate? 1 million out of 1 million? Like you just wanted to be on it, didn't you? So it just put him away. I know it was a soft tempo dash home, but always a good sign when they can when they can jump from 1700 to be dominant at 2400. And like I said, conversely, it was running a good tempo the race 4, and Farrago, after being distanced the week before and eased out of it, we knew he was a duck, and by now the rain was hitting, and he just dominated for Blake Shin late. Matron Bullwinkle there, another one from the Barrier 1 coffin, as I like calling it. I wouldn't be at all surprised. More so, not so much for the check, but also having to go up significantly in speed when having a first ever 2400 run that she's still going to win in her, because the races won't be strong in the distance over the next month. So I reckon Matron Bullwinkle will bounce back.
Okay, 5th of Van, and Tony Noonan looks to have a nice horse. This Tornado's 4 from 6 now, Herbert Park.
Well, it's definitely a good wet tracker, and I actually was with some people last night who were connected with the horse, and they ended up having a bit of a fill up once the rain came, because that was the line for her, because a couple of these others have a bit of class. Jai McNeil got suspended for going for a run that wasn't there, and I wasn't surprised looking at the head on. I thought, what are you doing there? So Amasira, I think, can bounce back, even though I was beaten 5 lengths. And Kundalani, first start for Graham Begg stable. I always say I never find the Graham Begg stable, but I think that's a nice run, and so was Sunset Dreaming. But on the day, Herbert Park, and it can win again if it stays on the wet, but I think on the dry, those 3 favourites have a little bit of class about them. All
righty, moving on to race number 6, Piastri, Mickey D aboard, defeated Willenda and Bossy Nick.
Yeah, just in the right spot, and as the rain hit, 112.1, so by now we've got a genuine heavy track. Don't worry about it, it was called a soft 7. So it was in the right spot. A couple of these others, they're all pretty basic. These are 3-year-olds at the end of the racing season there, but as I think it was Jack Turnbull after the race said, he's done a good job jumping from the benchmark 58, and there was good money for it to say it would run well, and it did.
Just spoke to Jack, and he was complimentary about recommendation, although he did say doesn't really get a strong 1200. Yeah,
I was just wondering the same thing. That's interesting, because I wonder if Moonee Valley 1200 though could be its go, because on a firm deck and hugging the rail where you did want to be yesterday, you could tell Blake had to use all his fantastic horsemanship to win. So that was a very basic stakes race. So let's see him again, and I wouldn't want to be making a call either way there.
All right, on to race number 8, the benchmark 100, and the 8-year-old Showmanship back into the winners list. Damien Lane to the 4 once again.
Very smart people put that in their Caulfield Quaddie, Shorty. It was a very nice win.
Very nice.
Wobbling.
Well, the thing was, you couldn't. Yeah, there is some wobble there. I've got to say, given how terrible that meeting was, there is some wobble. And again, at the 600, I thought, you're going to win here. He's just tracking into it. Jimmy the Bear gave a big kick. And it was a good, really good tussle between the two of them, and an even better tussle if you put the roughie in the quaddie. So you couldn't completely pot him on what he did. He ran very well on wet ground in December, and it was a good return, and they spaced the rest. That green fly, he's obviously got some tricks. He puts in a bad one every now and then. He did yesterday as well.
Talking about Anthony and Sam Freedman, they won the last with Rhapsody Chic betting the Open, and Belle Savoie back in 3rd.
Again, I don't think this is a very good horse, but he's a very good wet tracker. So I think that was the difference here. Getting 126, that's a heavy 10 late in the day, and they're all pretty wet. I actually reckon, and this is a bit lateral here, but the horse to follow is one that was scratched. Sandpaper, they didn't want to waste a run with him. They've got him right again the Cummings yard. When the rain hit, they scratched it. I think Sandpaper is one you want to follow with a bit of confidence. But very tough day, boys, but something the quaddie's nice.
Indeed, over 2100 there, beautifully done, Ralphie. Black Bookers for the punters.
Yeah, Black Bookers are actually going to want to stick with that fillies race there, where Kundalani and the horse, of course, who got the bad check there, Amasira, is the ones we want to follow.
Thanks, Ralphie.
Johnny boys.
On the Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Good morning, Bradley.
Morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. Good to be with you, boys. And I reckon we often have that old chestnut discussion, don't we, about whether we should have a draw or extra time. I think there's a couple of teams sitting up at the top of the ladder in second and third position to be pretty pleased they had a draw and were attributed 2 points. Shorty?
Absolutely, Brad. Yeah, great to be catching up with you on this Sunday morning. You're a proud Australian as well, and 3 golds to kick off the campaign. The Aussies sit on top of the medal table across there in France. It's a great start to the Olympic campaign as well.
The Olympics on, are they? I didn't know that. Yeah, we are. She's a star, the Terminator. She just and the relay and everything else, and the cyclists. It was all fantastic. I mean, that's we sort of expected a little bit, don't we, from the girls and the boys in the pool? But they get one on the track in the cycling, and better things to come. And unfortunately for the Matildas, they've got to get their act together pretty quickly. We don't want to see them cartwheeling out the back too early.
No, and the Boomers were very good too against Spain, as Shorty mentioned early on. Grace Brown, the cyclist, I watched that. She went out like, it's a funny. Did you watch it? It's a strange race, that one, isn't it? Because a lot of the early ones, they don't even go out that hard. And then they said, so you got your target, you know how hard you got to go. And she just threw caution to the wind on the wet track. She was great.
Yes, exactly right. Go to the front and prove your position, as they say.
Yes.
Not a bad way to go about it.
Instructed from the trainers.
Hey, Brad, there's a bit of, no doubt, there was a bit of fizz around town last night. The Western Derby, while West Coast aren't in finals contention, Fremantle are, and this was a potential banana peel for Fremantle. And I'll tell you what, West Coast turned up to play there last night. Their first half was excellent. Their energy was very good. They were ferocious at the football. They were moving the ball quite nicely. Freo really had to dig deep, and this is the sort of game that you'd think would really serve them well heading towards September, because it had a real hard edge to it.
Yeah, we got this one pretty much right with the boys of the Daily on Thursday and Marty Friday night. And as I said, I felt that would be the option. After such an insipid performance by the Eagles, buttering up from what they showed the week before, you knew they had something in them. They had one in the chamber, but what has been their problem and was exploited by Fremantle, particularly after half-time, is their lack of fitness. They just can't go full term, and that's their problem. And, yeah, they had a crack in the first half, and they led, and all of that was all. And I think we said that, Marty. He said, if you wanted to have a little bet, maybe bet on the half-time sort of result around that place, and that's how it turned out. But, yeah, Fremantle just overwhelmed them in that second half. And, it was a positive performance for Fremantle. And, again, we thought they'd negotiate this part of the term, but now it's the last 4 games. They've got the destiny in their own hands, and they'll be very, very thankful for what happened on Friday night with Port Adelaide doing to Carlton. And there's still a few teams. Talk about banana peels. Shorty, I wasn't so much worried about a banana peel for Fremantle, but there was sort of that weekend, wasn't it, where you thought there might be a couple of upsets here. And there were, and there have been, and there may still be. So we'll see how they go. But, sitting nicely at the moment, them and the Lions in particular gone just slightly ahead of Carlton, and the Giants found their way to the line, and the Cats a regulation win against the Kangaroos.
Okay, let's go back to Friday night. Carlton opened up they were 5 goals up, weren't they, at one stage, but 5-day gap, whatever, took its toll, and Port were able to wear them down in the second half. Port continued to win, and at one stage they're up running third, they're back down to 7th.
Well, Marty, at half-time I put the slippers on, got the bottle of red out there, Shorty, and I thought, we'll be right here. We've got our Friday same game mouldy up here. This is a bit of a trend now, unfortunately, for Carlton. Now, there was. Mackay was a bit of a bad out, but they played so well. They talked about 5-day turnaround, all of that. That's all garbage. The bottom line was they weren't worried about the 5-day turnaround in the first half when they led by 31 points when running on top of the ground. Curnow was ripping them apart up forward. And things were going well. I don't know what it is. They went in at half-time for a rest, and they must have stayed in a sleep because they just didn't come out. And cool marks to Port Adelaide. I mean, they just continue to keep on keeping on. And, Vossi's got a little bit to work out with, how he uses Charlie Curnow, particularly if you haven't got Harry Mackay out there. I mean, the throwing behind the ball, I get all the strategy about it, but when he went back down the other end, Marty, he was stuffed. And it was 2-on-1 every time the ball went forward, and he was their only avenue to goal, unfortunately, on Friday night. So Carlton did that about 3 weeks ago, Shorty. They were 39 points up in front of the Giants and found a way to get humbled, and they did it again the other night. So, they're the boy with the barrow now. They've got a big game coming up next week. That's another, like a qualifying final for them, an elimination final for Collingwood, and they'll have to get it right. And Port Adelaide, they just continue to keep on keeping on.
I reckon it's one of Kenny's best coaching performances I've seen. Good on Kenny. He put Radagalia forward. That tricked them.
Yep.
Then he found the tag on Cripps. It worked, and they put a lot of pressure and time into Walsh. And if you can stop that 1-2 punch in that midfield for Carlton, they've got a lot of good ordinary players around them. But if you can stop their two stars, exactly.
Yeah, role players, and that's what you want. And look, the other thing was too. I mean, he's been able to harness, to a lesser degree, Butters. Butters is still out of control, but at least Horne-Francis, he had a really good chat to him over the last couple of weeks. Just saying, hey, mate, pull your head in. You don't have to do all of the histrionics. Just get out there. You are a pretty darn good footballer. And he reminds, as I said, I've said this before, he reminds me, he hasn't got anywhere near the pace of Jason Ackermanis, but he plays similar in that the first half he tends to be either held or limited, and then after half-time he really breaks out. And that's what Ackermanis used to do with the Brisbane Lions, and that's why they won so many games. And this young man, again, on Friday night, Shorty, ended up with 23 disposals, the majority of those in the second half, Marty, including a terrific goal, which put him in front.
He's got lots of ability, and it's just like you said, just a matter of continuing to mature and develop and put some of the aspects that maybe take his mind off the job and just play for full 4 quarters. He often he's still a little bit bursty. He sort of has patches in games where he just looks like he's phenomenal, and then he can sort of fade out at times. But he'll sort it out over time. To dominate like he does at different patches, that the ability's there. He'll sort it out over time. Another game that had the potential to be tricky was Geelong up against North Melbourne, heading down to Tassie, and North their last 5 or 6 weeks worth of work. Most of it had been pretty solid. They were there with Geelong for a portion of that first half. They kept it within a couple of goals, but Geelong, their class came to the fore in the second half. They ran away with it. Stewart, once again, outstanding for the Cats.
Yeah, it's second home for the Kangaroos, and they play a little bit better down there, and they're going better than they've been going in past years down there as well. So that was a good thing. As you say, Shorty, North Melbourne got away to a bit of a flyer, but to their credit, they just steadied, and, players like Duncan and Tom Stewart just had his own ball again. Not sure what they were doing, Alistair Clarkson with him. I mean, they just kept kicking the ball down his throat, which drives me crazy. Anyway, but they just did enough. They just did enough, Geelong, and they played rebound footy as opposed to contested footy, and their rebound was better than North, so unfortunately. So, 40 points in the end was a very comfortable 40 points at the end of the day. But the Cats, again, just continue to keep plugging away with better things to come at home.
Okay, let's talk about the next game. It was Gold Coast. They had their chance against Brisbane, but they just continue to murder the ball inside of 50. They got no idea about it. And then I thought they sat down late. They sat down late against Brisbane.
Yeah, they didn't. Once they thought they pretty much gave up the ghost, as you're saying, particularly in the last 5 or 7 minutes. And, they just can't get it right. And even their guns, Anderson and Rowell had 10 disposals each at half-time, Shorty. Well, you can't be having that. They're already, we expect that when they're away, when they're 20 or 30% down on output, but not at home. And you really need them to drive the team and get going. And poor old Ben King, he got the Max's problem now. He couldn't hit the side of a barn door. I mean, they're all hailing how good it was. What a fantastic selection. Hipwood was a fish out of water. If he had a kick straight, he would kick 5 on him in the first half, So, you winners are grinners and losers can please themselves. So, they'll be really looking forward to getting Harris Andrews back there and Hipwood back down the other end of the ground because, whilst it they got away with the win, and Zorko was outstanding off the half-back line. He was really the impetus in the game for them. And McCluggage, Lachie Neale to a lesser degree was pretty much, contained a little bit. But, they did a good job. And then we thought if ever someone was going to beat that picket fence that they'd created there at Carrara, it was going to be the Brisbane Lions going down the road.
Well, there's got to be a long-term concern about the monkey on the shoulder when it comes to Gold Coast taking on the big brother down the road, because it's now twice this year where Gold Coast have had gilt-edged opportunities to beat up. Let's not forget the first time they met, Brisbane were down to basically no rotations on the bench for the second half of that game. The door was wide open for Gold Coast to at least come back and make a run in that game. Yep. They didn't. Back at home, on their home deck yesterday, season alive, everything on the line. Again, Brisbane banged up, players missing, the opportunity to really cash in on no key defenders. And once again, Gold Coast, when the game was there, they just did not have a killer blow. And they never looked like getting into the contest to win it, Brad. Agree. That's what's disappointing. So I don't think this is talent-based. Gold Coast have got plenty of talent talent. They had most of their list available. They had an opportunity to cash in with the big forwards inside forward 50 and win this game. And again, I don't know if it's a mental thing or not, but Brisbane never looked really like being beaten. That's something they're going to have to address.
No, clearly, but I just think that with the Gold Coast, I think they might have beat them there last year, didn't they, Shorty?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
In a similar game, and Brisbane were going a bit better. But no, as I say to Marty often, I said it on Friday night, and I was proven to be wrong in the end. But I said, you don't worry about who you haven't got, you worry about who you have got, and that's what Brisbane did, and that's what the Gold Coast didn't do. They didn't play to their strengths. They didn't have their necessary ball winners. They didn't have their sharpness and their edge and their want. And how bad's it kicking? I mean, it really costs the punters too, because if you reverse the scores of points and goals for both teams, they clear the line, they do everything for you, and you get a good result. But they've got a lot of work to do. He said he felt as though he had 75 or 80% of his possible premiership side there. Well, he might have to rethink that and go into bat and either really try and accelerate some of the draft picks that they got early, or get into the marketplace and get some more support through that. Look, they missed Tuke Miller, his experience, etc. But he's getting on too, so they need to get some more energy levels into that team.
But see, those experienced players, he has resisted playing them. He dropped them again for this match as well. So he's made his bed. He's lying in it with these younger players and they're not coming up. But, Brad, I want to ask you this. When is a team going to jump on Zorko and tag him? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Each week you see it.
Exactly. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, it's the best place to play in footy, halfback flank right now. And you've seen it. I mean, Geordie Clark's had his hands full. James Jordan got him earlier in the year. You need that. But you've got to find somebody who is, and I would find somebody who is, and I used to say this with Port Adelaide when Freddie McGuinness was involved with their match committee. I said, when you play West Coast Eagles at David Wirapunda, find someone who's good overhead. So Brett Ebert was the man. Brett Ebert wasn't as fast as David Wirapunda, but I tell you what, he could find him out in the air. And that's what you need to do. You need to not only find someone who can limit the run and the dash off the halfback flank and the set-up abilities of someone like Dane Zorko, but you've got to hurt him on the way back.
Yep.
And, it's no good just putting a mug on him and saying, oh, well, okay, we don't care if you don't kick it. Yeah, you do. You really need to have, it's a two-way street now. Gone are the Shane Hurd, Mickey Gafis of the world where you just don't worry about the ball and go out and get it. You have to help us hurt them on the way back, and that's what some teams haven't put a lot of work into so far.
There's plenty of them. Bailey Dale's another one. He loves it. So off half-back just keeps racking them up, and the good sides find a way to try and minimise their influence. But they're generally good ball users too. They're guys that make good decisions with ball in hand, and if you let them get plenty of it, normally they make good decisions and hurt you on the scoreboard on the other way back. Essendon St Kilda was a big opportunity for the Bombers to show something, Bradley, and Marty's already given them a bit of a clip earlier on in the program today. They were bitterly disappointing. It was St Kilda 17-6, 108 defeating Essendon 8-7-55. There was some very, very cranky Essendon fans post-game giving their playing group a bit of a clip on the way off the ground. St Kilda, though, very good. Marshall, excellent. Steele, Wanganeen Malira continues on his good form for this season.
Yeah, look, Marty should give him a clip too because he's invested in them and he likes them and, he follows them. But, it's just that they just can't run out the Melbourne Cup. It's obviously clearly they were very good early. They got the job done in the early part of the season. That set themselves up to be, we were talking about first four just a few weeks ago. Now, they probably won't make the 8 now. No. I think that's a given. Yeah. So that's a dramatic fall, even given the closest to the competition. The other thing for me is we heard about the Essendon edge earlier in the year. We thought, this sounds good. That's completely dissipated. There's obviously infighting on the ground now. We saw that yesterday, the gesticulation between Merritt and Co, McGrath and a few others. And the blame game started, the finger pointing starting, and that's when you dismantle your team pretty quickly. There was no home ground advantage. Essendon play there, St Kilda play there. St Kilda shut the ground down better there than most teams, and they were able to do it. Good on them, and they kicked over 100 points, and they won comfortably. So St Kilda and Melbourne were our two. Shorty at the start of the year we thought would miss the 8. They're going to do that, I think. But they've still got to be flies in the ointment somewhere along the line, whereas Essendon now, it's an elimination final for them next weekend.
Tommy from West Swan sent one in. Marty, your Bombers were pathetic yesterday. What's wrong with this team? Well, I have been on record as saying players like Peter Wright, Andy McGrath, I'll give you Dyson Heppel. I got a little bit off the text line the other day for saying he should be dropped. Kyle Langford He is one of the best. Everyone just says, oh, he's great. He just, if he doesn't kick goals, what does he do in that forward line? No forward pressure, and he misses clutch goals. Archie Perkins hasn't seen it for a month. Jordan Ridley, since he's come back in the team, the defence has leaked. Sam Draper, not interested, got tough. Rowan Marshall, how good was he? Oh, no, they've got a list of players there that are Ben Mackay, Jai Menz, I can keep naming them, and they brought Darcy Parish straight into this team. So what does that say to Setterfield, Hobbs, Sardis, who've been running around, racking up Ps? They can't do any more in the twos. They're just saying, well, Sardis at pick 5, Hobbs is a top 10. Setterfield's been in brilliant form since he did his knee, and before. What does it say to them?
No, he's gone the wrong way about it. He's tried to patchwork quilt it, and it hasn't worked. And they certainly got a few issues going forward. And but the only thing is now, Shorty, it's going to be a bit of a worry for your boys because they play them next week.
No, I'd be queuing up to play them. What about? There's nothing left. The cupboard.
Beware the wounded.
The cupboard's bare, mate. The cupboard's bare. Melbourne.
Might just
go on.
Shock you. They might just shock you.
Yeah, right.
No, just be careful.
Melbourne 83, GWS 85. Yeah. What a seesawing encounter this was.
Geez, Melbourne played extremely well. They're very adept in the wet, and they came out after being humbled over your way the week before, and they really put on. And I thought, oh, gee, we're in a bit of trouble here. If you're a Giants fan, and then all of a sudden the train's going to come to an abrupt end. But to their credit, they just worked their way back into the Giants, and they kept going. They didn't score either of them in the third quarter for quite a while, and all of a sudden it was a bit of a shootout in the latter start of that third quarter. And then I thought the Giants were just going to cruise to victory. They got on top, Shorty, and away they go. And all of a sudden they put the cue in the rack, and all of a sudden Melbourne came back. So it went down right to the wire, and it was a very close game of footy. It just annoys me, Shorty, the scheduling. I mean, you've got the games overlapping on the same time. It's very hard to watch all of them, and those minis are good, but you want to watch it live. You want to know, you want to see it as it happens and understand the context of where everything is at the time, and rather than going back and looking at a replay when you already know the result. So, but the Giants, they continue to fight on, and Melbourne, unfortunately, just about curtains for them.
Jesse Hogan was clutch in this game. He's got the sticky hands going, Jesse Hogan. You do see some guys in the AFL that have got a bit of presence about them. They go hard at the ball, but they just don't clunk their marks. Jesse Hogan now is clunking his marks, and he's kicked 20 of his last 21 shots on goal. Yep. Now, if you've got a key forward, there's one thing that you should just be inking in the book, and that is if you're taking him, and Jesse Hogan's good at it, he takes a lot of his marks between the goal square and about 40 metres out. He takes marks in spots where he can kick goals, and 20 of 21, there's not too many going better than that, Bradley.
No, exactly right. And against quality opposition too, because he had Stephen May for a large proportion of the night last night. That's not easy to do. We know how good he and Lever work in tandem, but they just weren't allowed to. When they get that separation, as they say, with a forward for the one-on-one, if you kick the ball to advantage, if a bloke's in form, they can really make you hurt. And he did that again last night, which was really well done to him. And they've got a lot to look forward to, the Giants, and what a run home we've got in this next month, boys. I just cannot wait for that because, the Giants play the Hawks, and they play the Lions, and they play Freo.
Yeah, got a tough
and they play the Dogs.
Yeah.
Jeez. How about that?
Just on Jess Hogan, he's kicked 53 at 75.7%. So Curnow leads the Coleman with 56. His kick is at 58.9. Wow. That's and you're 60% is the benchmark. So,
and he's got the Josh Kennedy, a.k.a. Flintstone gun 10-pin bowling going. Deary me.
It works for him, though. I guess it's just another reminder that you do what works for you.
Another step.
It's getting the job done. Getting the job done.
Hold the ball straight, drop the ball straight, follow through straight.
3 games today, and these all could go either way. Even this first game, Collingwood, Richmond. What about the betting here, Shorty?
$1.26 the pies, Richmond $3.85, the line 24.5. This is the one market for the entire week that's gone sort of up and down a cent either way, but that's about it. It's been locked in as the pies warm faves $1.26.
Yeah, look at the novelties on this one. I think it's very hard to. We've had a little bit of rain, as you saw last night overnight, and we had more this morning. Look, it might brighten up this afternoon. Great drainage at the MCGs, you know. Both of these teams love to sling the ball around, don't they? You know, they love to go take the ball through the corridor. So there'll be plenty of turnovers there today. So it's got to be the one that gets it right most forward of the centre. I think that will be Collingwood. Yeah, they should get past Richmond, but I'd be looking deeper into some of those possession things, because you've got blokes like Shortte and Daniel Rioli, Baker. They love racking up possessions, as does the Dacos boys, and certainly, you know, Pendlebury wants to get back in a bit of form. There's a few of them out there, so just check out those. But I think Collingwood win that one.
All right, the Pies to get the job done there. This next game is one I cannot wait for, and I'm actually spewing that there's only 50 minutes between it starting and then the Adelaide Hawthorn games. Just give both of these games room to breathe. They're two cracking games of football. 1:20 Sydney take on Western Bulldogs, 2:10 Adelaide Hawthorn. So the crossover's on. Just spread it another hour and a half difference. Just give the punters a chance. It drives me wild. This middle game, though, Brad, $1.53 the red and whites. The Bulldogs at $2.50. The Lions at 11.5. Game total 177.5. Money's been very good. The Dogs for the third straight week. 320 into 250. They've been well backed the last fortnight and rewarded the punters. They've gone off again this week. A great opportunity for them to, with Essendon not going so well, they can just about find themselves sneaking in and cashing in on that result from the Bombers. What do they find themselves in the top 8 if they can win this game?
Yep.
Yeah, they got the destiny in their own hands, like most clubs around that, in and around that area. And you're right. I mean, I think the market's a bit better now. I mean, your head says Sydney. There's a lot of likes about Sydney at SCG, but without Papley, without Rampy, a little bit indifferent in the Dogs' form. You've got to give them a chance. There's no doubt about that. And yesterday we saw Randwick just down the road there, a little bit wet. And that'll mean it'll be a little soft underfoot, because they're literally a David Shortte torpedo punt apart. So, there's going to be softness on the ground. I think more Sydney prefer the hard and fast, where you saw the Dogs last week, adapt to the conditions. They've got a bit of pep in their step. They need to do what they did last week, and that is their midfield. What a great clash that's going to be, Marty. Absolutely outstanding, with Libba, Treloar and Bontempelli up against, Heaney, Warner and Goulden. Should be an outstanding one. It's whether the boys can hold, a Marty and Logan McDonald down back, and maybe Hayward or a couple of those others who chip in. Should be a cracking game. So, of course, my heart says I'm going for the Western Bulldogs. But on stats in your head, you probably have to lean towards the Swans at the SCG.
Yeah, great game. And the final game's another beauty. Adelaide, who, of course, coming off a really good win in Friday night footy, host Hawthorn. This market's flipped on its head. Earlier in the week, it was Adelaide who opened favourites, but the Hawks really well back now into $1.80. The line's skinny at 2.5, and game total 164.5.
Yeah, well, my two best outside, one was GWS. I thought the other one was, I thought it was bizarre that Hawthorn were outsiders, but I don't mind Adelaide. I don't mind them at home. I just think they're just a better football team there, and I like what I saw last week. With minus Walker, he comes back. Yeah, there's a lot to. They're going to miss Jordan Dawson. There's no doubt about that, because you spoke about those halfback flanker types. He's the best field kick in the team. So that Laird and that, we know how they can get the ball, but they don't use it really, really well. So I think it's going to be a cracking game, and Hawthorn have been in outstanding form, but they just remind me of the Swans a couple of years ago, where they started from right behind the 8 ball, and you only have to trip over once, and and all of a sudden you find yourself back. So I'm going to go for the outsider on that one. I think you're getting a good value there, $2. Yep.
Well, tune in today, half an hour before start time of each game, for your tips, Brad, for Retrovision Alone's 1, 2, 3. Let's get your Sunday saviour.
Yeah, going to Hobart, race 4, number 3, Press for Boom. Very exciting horse, 3 for 3 so far. I think it'll be winning again. Even money down there, Marty. And then we'll go up to Townsville, race 4, number 1. Lizzie Bridge cast off, Speed Legend. Geez, it's thrived up there, Shorty. It's $2.15. We'll take that. And we'll come home named after you, Marty. Race 8, number 15, Hell. $1.70 just to get the coffers going up a bit further. Yeah, Press for Boom, $2. Speed Legend, $2.15. Hell, Turnbull for Marty. $1.70. That's $7.30, boys.
Beautifully done. $7.30, the Sunday Saviour. We need last week's Sunday Saviour winner too from Soph, the Assassinator. She's been very quiet out the back, but she'll be lining someone up. Brad, thanks for coming on the program.
All the best, boys. Cheers.
Easy beauty, Bradley Hardie. Now, just before we get going, because we've got Troy Turner not far away, we've got a text here. How good was the double for Wolfie yesterday? How is the great man? That is from Kaiser from Albany. Well, let's have a listen to Shooter McGruddy after the last.
And here's his main man, Sean McGruddy.
Exactly right. You don't have Wolf without McGruddy, and they're here in the last with Little Silver. Shooter looked like you were able to lob into a wonderful spot from a tricky draw.
Yeah, look, I thought that was our only chance, was to chance our hand at trying getting in, but before the race I sort of thought I don't mind if I am 3 deep outside the leaders. Not that the fence is right off compared to the rest of the track, it's all pretty even, but this horse's fit coming back in distance, so I thought if I'm 3 deep outside the leaders I'll just rate him, but yeah, ended up getting in. The leaders sort of went along quick enough early that they opened us up a bit and was able to lob 1-1, but coming to the 600 they slowed up, and I thought the same thing again, because he was coming back in distance I better pop out, and so just sort of put it to him, and then it was a matter of just holding on late, but like I said, because he was coming back in distance and he'd been working pretty well, I didn't think they would catch us, and they didn't.
What about a thought on the Wolf man?
Look, he's pretty tough. I'm told that he'll be good as new in a week or two, and knowing him is probably be a week.
So about a fortnight until he's bagging your rides again.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, hopefully he's not as grumpy when he comes back.
Congratulations, well done, Shooter.
Thank you. There's Sean McGruddy.
Yeah, just leave it there. Shooter McGruddy wrapping it up there with Wolfie. So Wolfie sent in a text, please could you thank all concerned for the get well wishes. It's been overwhelming, mate. And apparently he's on the mend after a heart attack or two the other day. Track, when was that? Friday, I think. So
incredible how quickly, how resilient we can be as humans. But Wolfie, I think it's just his love for life and his love for his horses and the people involved in the sport. So many shout outs yesterday, and this industry's pretty special, Marty. I know the punters and the racing fraternity, we're resilient. When times are tough, though, we get around each other, and there's no better example than Wolfie this weekend. There have been so many people sending their love and best wishes to the great man. And look, we're all combatants, I'm sure, on race day, but there's a lot of love and care for each other within this sport. It's very, very special. And racing, when you're doing it tough, has got an unbelievable knack of delivering some bouquets and some pick-me-ups when life's tough. It's the winners, mate, it's just pick me up, just help me out a little bit. And yesterday, no better example of it. And Kaiser there from Albany, bang on the mark. It was special, and if it didn't bring a smile to your face there yesterday, seeing Ginger Green and the Spruker running first and third in the big one, and then, of course, Shooter in the last with Little Silver, you're not human.
That is for sure. And our thoughts too go out to Damien Oliver and all concerned with the loss of Mum Pat, and lost David Grant last week as well. So it's been a tough couple of weeks, really has been for the racing industry. And anyway, good to hear that Wolfie's on the mend. 22 away from 8, we better get cracking.
Morning, we will do the talking on the Aftermath with Marty Young and David Shortte on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Jagsy Turner joins us. He's heading up to Kalgoorlie at the airport at the moment. G'day, Troy. How are you?
Hey, Marty. How you going, mate?
Good. I've got David Shortte with me as well.
How are you, Shorty?
I'm going really well, thanks, Troy. Nice to be catching up with you this morning. A busy day in the saddle up there on the goldfields. You look likely to have a good day there, as you so often do. It all gets underway in the first. Looks a pretty good opportunity to get your Sunday off to a flyer with a Wemaway here for Brett Drury. The horse has certainly got its hoof on the till, placed at its last couple. Can it go one better this afternoon?
Yeah, we hope so. Brett's pretty keen. The horse should go well. Just filling in for Jordan. He's going away on holiday. So, hopefully we can get the first one off the mark.
Young bloke give you a few inside tips on how the horse should be ridden?
Yeah, he's pretty keen on it. From its last run, he said it was probably just a tad unlucky, but it's knocking on the door, so it shouldn't be far off getting one.
Oh, our good old mate Chris Willis. You always got to pay attention when he pops up there on the goldfields. He's got one called Cincinnati Duke running first up. Again, Geordie was riding this horse before its spell.
Yeah, it's, I think Simon Miller used to have this horse, but it's in the hands of Chris Willis. He's given it a trial down here, so I'm sure he's not heading up there for, I don't know, the day out. He's probably got a bit of probably might have something in hand there, so hopefully it'll go well.
Alrighty, on to race number 3, another of the maidens, one here for Pete Fernie. Tanks for the memory and third up for the preparation. Should be fit and ready to run a decent race this afternoon.
Yeah, the distance should suit this horse. Been running okay, and again, once these horses sort of go around these races, they get their day. Hopefully today's its day.
Yeah, there for Peter Morley in the famous Ballast Racing colours, a good sponsor here at Tab Radio. Into race number 4. And again, you're there with Peter Fernie, Zing to Win. Do you know much about this horse?
Oh, I spoke to Ben Pearce the other day. He sent the horse up for its first run, and it ran really well. Jordan rode it. It was a little bit unlucky, but drawn a bit awkward, but probably be back in the field anyway. But it should run home really strong in that race.
On to the first leg of the quaddie, race number 5, the Regal Engineering, and another ride here for the top camp up there on the Goldfields, Pete Fernie, the 6-year-old son of Blackfriars. It's a Lance. They're coming off a placing last time out there over the 1,760 metres.
It's won a few races up here and Kalgoorlie, so hopefully should be knocking on the door. It's got a nice barrier. It should be on the speed, and we'll see what we can do.
Race number 6, and you're here for Brett Drury. High pressure.
Yeah, same again. This horse has been running very well. It's had probably sticky draws in its past few runs, so it's done a little bit of work, but if we can get some sort of run from the barrier, we should be right there.
You've got a wide draw to contend with in race number 7, a 58 plus over the 6 furlongs. Kelly's Lisa Lou draws barrier 11 here for Dave Smith, a horse though that has raced well over this trip in the past with a couple of wins from 8 attempts.
Yeah, its recent form's pretty good. It's had a little bit of a let-up, so on its exposed form, it'd be hard to beat if it gets a reasonable run from the barrier.
And you'll round it out again. You've drawn wide here, barrier 14 for Brett Drury. Number 9, Mariah. Geordie's been riding this horse. What's he been telling you about? He's been knocking on the door after its maiden win, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's had pretty good rides its last couple, so not sure what I'm going to do from 14, but can get some sort of run on it. It's a very consistent horse, so yeah, hopefully we're in the mix again.
Yeah, the filly has drawn well. You make a good point there. Barriers 1, 1, 2 and 4, so it won't know itself out there in 14. I think what's going on here?
Yeah, we'll wait and see, eh?
I think a bit of Jagsy magic, no problem at all, Marty. They're just a starting point at the end of the day. You've got some pretty nice rides throughout the course of the day. Jagsy, were there one or two that stood out maybe for our listeners to get around this afternoon up there on the Goldfields?
Well, Brett Drury was pretty keen on the one in the first, and like I said, I haven't rode any of these horses today, but on the exposed form, most of them should run pretty well.
So a weem away in the first. Let's start off in the first there, Shorty, and see if we can build a bank from there. Troy, thanks for coming on the program. Safe flight and enjoy your day riding up on the Goldfields.
No problem.
Thanks, Troy. Good stuff. He's up there. Geordie's on break, and he's sort of picking up the slack a little bit. You can see. I've
got to look after the old man every now and then, don't you?
Definitely something there. It looks pretty nice too.
Listening in, Jack? Take a leaf out of Geordie's book. Give me something. Hey? Big meeting up there, Variety Club.
What could Jacko possibly leave you? Just a few Donny Bradmans lying on the floor to pick up, something.
Oh, it'd be nice. Just maybe a hot dog when I go to the footy and watch a young bloke go around. I seem to buy them all the time. I don't know. But it's a big meeting. Variety Club sponsor it. They've got 8 events, and the first event 12:15. Plenty going on course. Fat Buddha Tie, Mrs. Whippy.
Well, Mister's been put out to pasture. Mrs. is the fill-up queen on a Sunday.
Brad McGinnity's getting very involved with Mrs. Whippy.
I bet he is.
It's a good combination.
You can just imagine it. And well done to Ian Dunstan, Scooter up there. I love what we're hearing out of the Goldfields. In fact, Marty, since we've introduced Drive Monday to Friday here on TAB Radio, one thing I've really enjoyed is you getting an opportunity to chat to a lot of the different race clubs around WA and fill all our listeners
Alex.
in and Alex as well, but both of you, and I know Riles has been a big part of it as well, and just catching up with industry identities, and there's some wonderful characters in WA racing that race animals all over the state, and the chance to hear from some of those, but also people running the clubs to give us an idea of the challenges of running a club, but also what they've got in store for race day, and the chance to promote these different places all over WA. It's been excellent. I've really enjoyed it, and Ian Dunstan is one of those guys that's made the most of it and come on your program on a number of occasions, and KBRC seemed to be ticking along really well. I met up with Ian before he took the position. He was down in Perth. We caught up at Crown for a few drinks. He's been a friend of mine for many, many years. And he said, look, I don't necessarily profess to know everything when it comes to the track. He said, but I love Kalgoorlie. I love the history of Kalgoorlie racing, and I want to make a difference. And I think to this point in time, he's doing really, really well.
He was a bit nervous entering into that new position, but he's done a terrific job. And we had the Tab Touch Roman Cup up there yesterday as well. Awesome chatter. Jessica Gray, isn't she having a wonderful time of it of late? And we got a special mention to Darren Pateman, because he's been a regular on the program. He's tipped 5 from 6.
Wow.
The last 2 meetings, and they've all been decent prices.
Excellent.
And he broke Sean Casey's record for the amount of winners trained up in Broome with that double there on Friday.
I tell you who's doing well. Your man Snagger Sardelic, having a good little patch. He had another winner there yesterday. And when I was tuned in on Friday, had a good time of it at Broome as well, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he was going along beautifully as well. Also, here's one from Fraggle. Hope everyone followed John Thompson from last week's interview. He did tip Zoo Ripper, saluted at a good price. I completely forgot that one. It's got up during the week. He did say one to follow next week. So Zoo Ripper, yeah, well done. Hope the punters got on board there. Good luck, and get your Sunday saviours in.
Flying out all about rock, joined by Starlight Panama, Chef's Kiss, Mr. Severide the Rail, Chef's Kiss ran to the lead, Starlight Panama second, then Must Be Speedy, Mr. Severide, Startup Ando, Crooked Kelly, All About Rock and Mongolian Tiger, but Chef's Kiss took off, led by 6, Startup Ando, Must Be Speedy, Starlight Panama railing, it's all Chef's Kiss. Chef's Kiss wins by 6 lengths. Second is Startup Ando.
Oh, the old Chef's Kiss bolts in there. Now, Jody Jennings is joining us to talk about the winner of Chef's Kiss and others. Hi, Jody.
Good morning.
Great to be with you, Jody. Thanks for your time on this Sunday morning. That was super impressive, Chef's Kiss, putting together a great record now, and came from box number 8. Absolutely blew them up late.
Oh, it was amazing to watch her. Obviously, box 8's always a little bit tricky on those 488 starts. And she began okay, but then to see her over that back, and she just dropped another gear and took off. It was really nice to see.
Absolutely. It's only had the 13 career starts, now 4 wins, 7 placings. There's plenty more in store for Chef's Kiss. Is it a matter of just working her way through the grades as it sits now?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, she's only a baby, so she has just begun her career. And, yes, now she's obviously gone to a grade 5, and we'll work her way through and see how she goes.
At the opposite end of the scale is the dog that gave the Robartson Kennel a double on the night, the old stager Hinto. What a wonderful campaigner this greyhound has been. Earned more than $320,000 in prize money, winner of 24 races, a further 34 placings, and again there on Friday night in top company. Just loves this Mandurah circuit, bats up at the sort of 70% winning hit rate at the place, camped on Sunset Hornet, who's been flying, but a long way from home. When Hinto sat a clear second, he looked the winner of Fairway Out.
Yeah, he certainly did. I think you always know with Hinto on that home bend, if he's sort of sitting close to the front runner, that he's definitely most of the time going to be the winner of the race. He's so exciting to watch, though, isn't he?
He makes good decisions in his races, Hinto. He always has. He's always been a smart dog in a field, and he's had a few miles on the clock, 80-odd starts, but he seems to be racing as well as ever at the moment. Jody, is Hinto, is he feeling well at home? He doesn't look to be getting towards the end at the moment. Is he the sort of dog that you can see racing for a little while still to come?
Oh, definitely. I think he's aging like a fine bottle of wine, I think, is how we'd say it, because he he's no different to when he was back being a 2-year-old. You know, he's probably he is better. Like, he did have middle of his career, he had a few little niggly problems, where now he sort of just seems to cruise along, and, you know, week after week, he just loves to race.
So how about the other winner, Chef's Kiss? When are we going to see this greyhound out again? 13 starts for 4 wins, 5 seconds, so starting to build up the win strike rate there?
Yeah, she is, and I suppose that's the decision we need to make now. Obviously, we've only got Manda at the moment, so whether we take her to Northern is a question. We're not sure yet. We'll see what happens in the next week or two.
And also, last night, another success for the kennel with Curo coming from box number 7 in a Grade 5 race over the 488. And I thought this was a super impressive win from the wide draw. It got over. There were some nice dogs in this field, but Curo just blew them up and put a gap on them really quickly. All 3 of these dogs have got the same mother, Ricole Kelsos. This litter that's there, Curo's litter, it must have been a really big size, Jody, because every time I pick up the fields, there seem to be 2 or 3 or 4 of the litter that are going around. How many did she have in this litter?
She did. So she had 10 in that litter. So, and obviously there was 8 girls and 2 boys. So, our kennel's full of all of them at the moment. But they're a really, really nice litter, definitely. Even having a big group of girls, they're all, you know, showing that they've all got great ability.
They have. 10 in the litter is a pretty big size, but sometimes you hear of those big litters and you think, maybe there's not enough goodness to go around, and you get a couple of good ones and the rest can be a bit steady. But the quality and the talent levels of most of them seem fairly similar, and it's of a pretty decent level.
Yeah, definitely. And with the girls, I think they've just taken on, obviously they're only babies too, but they're taking that little bit longer. We thought, are they going to be, go the distance? But now that they've started racing, they've got it all. They can begin, which definitely helps, and then they're becoming really strong at their end game now. So it's really exciting to see them.
So from birth, how long does it take before you get them to the track?
Generally, around 18 months is when you'll start getting them to qualify. Mm-hmm. So not long. So 18 months is pretty quick, but we generally start with our puppies, breaking them in around the 12-month mark, which is a little bit earlier, but we like to sort of start doing some work with them then. And all our dogs we have at the moment, for a long time now, we have them from birth virtually till the end, so...
Yeah, I tell you, you guys do an amazing job. It was Ricole Kelsos, the mother. Has she had another litter, Jodes?
Yes, she has had another litter. So she has got, I just have to think who they are. Oh, she's actually got some vice grip babies coming along.
Excellent.
So that's exciting. So, they're still only young. So they're only around 8 months old. So there's a little while until they'll hit the track.
Did she have a big litter again?
There was 5 in that litter.
Oh, good. Oh, that's a good size, and that's great to see. So you've used Zach Manelli with the current litter, and then Vice Grip. Great to see you getting around our local stud dogs who've been stars on the track as well. Hey, Jodes, thanks so much for joining us this morning here on the Aftermath. Really appreciate you taking the time to pick up the phone and tell us about the 3 winners you've had over the last few nights. All our best to Christine, who I believe is travelling and on the road with Linda at the moment. I'm sure they're having a great old time, and good luck.
I'm sure they are.
Good luck to yourself and Dave, who I'm sure are very busy manning the fort in her absence. Good luck. Continued success with the team.
Thank you.
Jody Jennings with us this morning. Thank you, Jody. And they are a team you can follow with confidence, Marty. They've got some very smart dogs.